All right. Call this meeting to order for the Community Development Meeting, Wednesday, January 8th, 2020 at 7 p.m. at the East Annex, 2434 Vermont Street, Roanoke, Illinois. Do a roll call. Alderman Johnson? Here. Alderman Hawley? Here. Alderman Cantelo? Alderman Mech? Here. We have a quorum. All right, before we get into public comment, I'm going to make a statement regarding item number 2. Just threw this together before I got here. So in regards to the cannabis ordinance on the agenda tonight, while I do believe the majority of the council is in favor, in fact, the majority of the council voted to opt in originally, I will not be calling it for a vote tonight. The reason is the planning and zoning meeting has just concluded late Monday night. We received the updated version later yesterday, so it's only been about 24 hours to digest 30-some pages of ordinance. I know they did a great job. I'd like to thank all the time. They've met several times, hours and hours, and I know they added and changed a bunch of stuff. Myself and a few of my committee members have said they haven't had time to really digest what's in there, so I'd like to table it off the agenda tonight. I'm not going to call it for a vote. I want the aldermen to pass it around, share it around, get any input, get constituents to get if you have any input, bring it back to this committee. If I don't hear anything over the next couple of weeks, we might call a special meeting, but we might not have to. The state has said they're not releasing any more licenses until late May or June, so we still have time. Most people know that we're in favor. The city majority, I think everybody, there was no dissenting vote, was in favor of doing this. We just want to do it right. We just want to take our time and do it right. And I want one last time through this committee to review everything since we just got this. So planning and zoning has digested it over and over again. They had really good meetings. I've been looking through the minutes here. I know Howard put a lot of time into this also. And now that we got it, it's in our court. So I want to make sure before we send it off to judiciary, if there's any changes that need to be made, we make it in this committee. So I'm going to table it for tonight. So if there's no objection, I'm just not going to call that number 2 for a vote. The public can still comment if they want, but there'll be another opportunity to do that. So just make sure I covered everything in my bullet points. So it's a good time to contact your alderman that represents you if you do have a concern or if you have a suggestion. Those of you that paid attention, I know some of them were televised. If you have a suggestion, call your local alderman. That's what they're here to do. They're here to represent you. So take your time, do it. Howard, you want to sit up here? All right, so that being said, I'll open up for public comment.
Good evening, my name is Carol Space Green, and I was at the joint planning and zoning meeting. We, of course, learned that none of our planning and zoning committee members are FOIA or Open Meetings Act trained. They took votes on things that they should not have. A bunch of things happened. But most importantly, how do the constituents get a copy of the ordinance that's being proposed? Can I get a copy from you, Howard? Because the information really is not transparently being shared with the constituents. And that should be a major concern for all of the elected officials who are required to follow transparency laws. There's no way for your constituents to contact you to say, I agree, I think this is great, because they can't see it. And we should not be required to do anything that even remotely looks like travel to City Hall, wait in line and ask Randy, may I please see a copy of the ordinance, and take turns. That's not how good government operates. Good government has nothing to hide. And the first thing I'd love to see is the entire city council and all of the members following transparency laws. So with that said, Howard, can I get a copy of that ordinance, please?
The ordinance is still being reviewed. It's still being.
Yes, can I review it as well?
I think the city clerk should be the person who's the gatekeeper of the ordinances, even if they're not professionally approved yet.
How do constituents get copies of the ordinance? Because we should not be traveling to City Hall to stand in line and wait and take turns to see a copy of the ordinance. This is something that aldermen and the city council and city officials who work for us, we don't work for you, should be sharing freely to get the input that Chairman Fred Bilotto is recommending. We can't give you input if we can't see it.
I'll talk to the clerk.
You know, it's like asking Ray Charles and Helen Keller to give you input on something we don't have access to it.
I'll talk to the clerk. What else you got?
Talking to the clerk, that's a great idea, but that's not gonna put the material into the hands of the general public. And that's a problem. I'm sorry,
It might be
Dexter?
posted on the website.
Oh, well, the last one wasn't posted on the website.
I'm just saying he might can, that's what I said.
Yeah, well, you know, those sorts of things that should be happening are not happening, and that's a major concern, and should be a major concern for the elected officials, because if we can't see it, the only thing we can say is, guess what? There was a meeting, people did attend and voice opinions, but we don't have access to material. And that's a huge problem for City Hall in its entirety.
I think your point's made.
Hi, I'm Anita Kinney. I said something to Carol outside that I wanted to say on the record in the meeting, and I agree that there are issues with the availability of this information to the extent that I have lived in other jurisdictions where agendas are posted on the website, and I told Carol my issue isn't with a volunteer body, it's with the fact that the city clerk doesn't routinely post agendas, that the website isn't maintained as I expect from a city that has a full-time clerk whose job it is to do that. I expect there to be an event, like a calendar that's kept up to date. I expect to be able to review the same board material, if something isn't confidential, I think it would be appropriate to post packets for these committees and those sorts of things on the website. I think it's good to exceed the requirements of public notice, which you all know we're compliant if we post a print thing on that sign out there, but I don't think that's, what if we have a blind resident that can't see it? I agree with Carol, they shouldn't have to go to the city clerk's office. I think the city should be more proactive in posting things on the website. As a professional records manager and as a member of the library board, I'm very committed to transparency and availability of that information. And frankly, I'm tired of coming to these meetings and having people like Carol DePace-Green and Kathy Keener accuse everyone of Open Meetings Act violations all the time. So we have a full-time clerk, why can't he be proactive and actually develop a framework for communicating this information ahead of time and cutting off these criticisms of the past? No offense, Carol. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, I don't have access to the website, so I don't want people to think that I'm a gatekeeper of all the information. There should be a policy in place. If I need to forward a staff report or an ordinance that's being reviewed, it should be going through the city clerk's office. I've worked in other municipalities here in this state and other states, and the city clerk is the gatekeeper for this type of information. Now, we currently don't have a policy in place for me to upload anything. I don't have access, so I can't provide information just like that. The reason why I can't give information just to one person, because then I'm not giving information to any other person. So this is why tonight I cannot give anything out to anyone. In regards to the meeting from Monday night, there is an ordinance that's still being reviewed by Community Development, which Fred Bilotto said they're still looking at it. And it's going to probably go through another review process, so it's in work.
Thank you.
Good evening, David Johnson. The issue I'm bringing forward today, it's probably primarily within the purview of municipal services. It has to do with roadway signage, but I'd like to bring it up because I think it might be a suitable discussion for the Western Avenue Business Improvement District, which I correct me if I'm wrong, is managed through community development. So something we've noticed since moving here, there is we'll say very inconsistent respect for pedestrian crosswalk laws by drivers. In particular on Western, where we do have somewhat marked crosswalks, we have stamped crosswalks and so forth, and of course it is state law to stop and yield to any pedestrian in a marked crosswalk, and most drivers don't do it. I did a little digging, and as near as I can tell, by state law, and I have the statute number and I'll pass this around, we are actually permitted to put up signs that say stop here for pedestrian, as you see in many other communities, and as I printed here, these signs are about $81 each. Not a huge financial outlay. I think it's something that could significantly improve pedestrian safety. Certainly south of Burr Oak, where there are marked crosswalks, I think there's a separate issue that might be bigger. North of 127th, where there aren't really marked crosswalks other than at 119th, 123rd, and you see a lot of people just hanging out in the street, waiting for cars to pass, and it's really not a good situation for a community that really should be accommodating and friendly to pedestrians. But that is probably more of a design issue that could be more drawn out. However, I think the signs could be dealt with fairly quickly. So I just wanted to get it on the radar as something that might be eligible for the use of those funds, but I'm also planning to bring this up with municipal services because it would be a public works matter.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello everyone, I'm Jackie Murphy. I came actually because I'm not able to make all the meetings, whether it's city council, whether it's community development, and those are definitely two that I wish I could attend, both being a citizen of Blue Island, but also being a part of one of Blue Island's businesses. I find out all my information through the YouTube videos. So I'm actually for the whole recording of the videos, and I know I saw the last meeting it was discussed about it being recorded now, and like how it's a waste of money and resources and such, and I totally get it, but I think it's actually a huge asset for citizens that can't attend the meetings, whether they're housebound or like myself, that our work schedules or running a business, we can't make city council meetings or committee meetings. So I just want to be an advocate for it, that if we can make it work, I think it would be a huge asset, as well as marketing it for our citizens, because personally, after watching all the meetings, I'm tired of hearing citizens saying that they aren't aware of things in regards to what's going on in the city, where if they aren't able to attend the meetings, which was the answer given by several people, that if they're interested, they should just attend the meetings, well, then at least they have the videos that they can go back and watch what was said or what was discussed and be more informed that way. Documents, that's up to the city clerk, but I think as citizens, we have to have some sort of alternative outlet to be informed, because not everyone reads the forum, not everyone is able to attend meetings. And in regards to the meetings, I wish I could have attended Monday night. As being a part of a business in Blue Island, I think it's great if we bring in new revenue for the city. I also think too, the reality is that like, there's nothing else going on, And so I am for it. I watched the planning, and I felt like everything that was discussed was completely fine. I'm for it, and I get frustrated being from the business background that everything that tries to put Blue Island forward keeps getting blocked and stopped. And my question to citizens that are against it, or people part of these committees, is what is your answer to change Blue Island? Like, give us, if you think that this is not the right way to go, then what is your answer? Because there will be more businesses closing if changes are not made and Blue Island does not go towards a positive future. Like, I'm being for real. Like, Western Avenue looks desolate now. It will look more desolate if more businesses close. And I just really strongly suggest to those that are against it, really think, if you're against cannabis, but you're okay with all the bars, fast food in Blue Island, like, that's just as negative on our children in this town as cannabis would be. And so I just really strongly suggest to those citizens that are against it, fine if you're against it, but what is your solution then? What else can we bring to Blue Island to change this town to no longer be the town that it is becoming, and that could be our future of going downhill and more businesses leaving? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve-O. Good evening. I attended a joint meeting Monday night, zoning and planning, and I felt that nobody was against it. No one was against it. They had concerns, but they weren't against it. Everyone there seemed to want to move Blue Island forward. Let's move it forward. I asked at the meeting, I asked to have it put on the ballot for a referendum. And I'm also asking your committee, let's put it on the ballot. Let's ask the residents of Blue Island, what is it that you want? Which direction should we go into? And I think that's what we should do, first of all. Put it on the ballot. And we'll go after it. But I think in this case we put the cart before the horse. But you know, we appreciate the hard work everyone's doing, and you know, the commissioners, all their time in that. They're doing a great job. But let's move forward. I also would like to know what has been done, Alderman Bilotto, what have you done to open up the hospital since the last meeting?
According to the Chicago Tribune, it's been sold.
But what have you yourself done?
Other than contacting legislators.
Anything else?
I've reached out, Mr. Steve-O, to a couple of different entities that buy his hospital, but I haven't heard anything back yet.
Well, thank you, Alderman Johnson. Does anyone have any questions of me? Thank you very much.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on. Under new business, we have approval of community development minutes from December 11th, 2019. If you guys want to look through them, or I can jump back to it at the end of the meeting if you want more time. If not, is there a motion? Motion by Johnson, second. Alexander, any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Number 2, I've already discussed, we're tabling. Number 3 is update on Bios Farm and other MWRD related matters. So Mark Miller could make the meeting tonight. He gave me an update. The city did send a letter, official letter signed by the mayor to MWRD regarding Bios Farms. They were interested in doing everything we can to keep them at the same location, and they've given us a framework to work in, which entails getting several appraisals, which this committee's already approved, and we're going down that path. Mark's waiting for a response from their legal counsel, confirming they got the letter. That's what they asked for, to get a letter saying that we're officially working on resolving this issue. So hopefully we'll have a better update at our next meeting, but it sounds like as long as we check off the boxes and we do what we have to do, it shouldn't be a problem. They should still be in the same location for next year. And we can move on to other uses for MWRD land, which is contingent on finalizing this issue, like a couple citizen issues of soccer fields and bike velodromes. So let's get this done and get Bios Farm at the same location. So that's my update with that situation. Under number 4, policy of selling city-owned properties. This I threw out there. There's nothing written. I'm asking Mark Miller to put something together so that in the future we have a lot of vacant lots, or when we take one of these abandoned homes that is salvageable, we're not tearing down, or if we tear it down, there's a vacant lot. There's something where there's a bidding process. There's step 1, 2, 3, and 4, so that it's transparent what the council's doing. So I'm asking Mark to put a policy together, which will come back to this committee, and then after this committee, it'll probably have to go to judiciary to become a resolution of some kind. So that's my reason why that's on the agenda. All right, number 5, Mr. Alvarez.
Good afternoon, Alderman. So here to discuss the resurfacing and repairs to the city parking lot on Western Avenue and Vermont Street, right next to the Dunkin' Donuts. So we put together an estimate for repair, a very preliminary estimate based on some unit costs that we've seen for parking lots repairs in the past. I'm not aware how familiar you are with the actual parking lot itself, but it's experienced some fairly severe pavement distress. At the moment, I'm not sure exactly what that's due to. It could be due to an old building that is being demolished and not properly backfilled. It could be due to unsuitable soils underneath the actual pavement of the parking lot itself. What I have for you all today is a proposal from Geocon, our sister company who does underground investigation. Basically, it's to come to site with a truck-mounted drill rig and drill 6 10-foot borings to determine the extent of the repairs we need to do. In order to move that parking lot repair forward, we really need to know what's going on underground there. Until then, all our estimates are pretty much up in the air. So, with your approval, I'd be looking to take this proposal from Geocon Professional Services to Finance Committee and then get it going.
All right, Commissioner, well, now financing, Finance Committee would discuss this, but there's either the business district or the parking lot restricted fund that has money into it. It's a sinkhole risk. If anybody's familiar with the parking lot next to Dunkin' Donuts on Vermont Street, they keep just dumping more and more asphalt on it several times a year, and it's still bottling up cars, so. What does the committee want to do? Do you want to send it to?
How much is it?
It's on
The cost is on here, it is just under $6,000.
$59.80.
$59.80.
Was it?
For the whole parking lot?
Oh,
For the whole parking lot, right?
Oh,
To do the testing.
to do the testing.
that's for the
I
underground
only
testing,
provide
that's
one
right.
copy.
Not for the actual repair.
Paper.
Oh,
right.
56 for the underground.
Yeah, $58.90 for the 6 10-foot boreholes and investigation and recommendations for how to deal with the underlying problem.
I can see what's underneath there.
Is this the only quote you received like this?
Yep.
Sister company.
Motion's made by Hawley. Is there a second? Any questions? Alexander? All right, so send it to, whoever wants to do it, send it to finance or municipal. Oh, we need a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Do you want to send it to finance or municipal?
I can send it to finance.
Yeah, send it to both. Send it to both. Just to, it's kind of like broad. It covers a lot of different committees. We want to do this right.
This will come out of the,
I think either the parking lot restricted fund, finance would decide. We can do parking lot restricted fund till those run out, and then we can do the remainder out of business district. If we decide to go that route, because this project possibly can extend above what's in that parking lot restricted fund. I think the fund has $280,000 into it as of right now. Hopefully it doesn't go, but we never know. It's really bad.
Right.
they have to take it out.
Yes.
Well, I'm kind of hoping, I don't know how familiar you are with the lot, but there's like a north half and a south half, and the north half seems to be experiencing some fairly severe
Yes.
distress, and the south half seems to be fairly cosmetic. So hopefully, we can, as part of this investigation, determine like a very good extent of the repairs we need, so we're not. I mean, usually these underground investigations actually end up saving the city a lot of money, so.
His quote of that $300,000 was worst case scenario, I believe.
Well, again, we can't really know until we do the investigation, but yes, I think it's fairly conservative.
Okay, all right. So we'll send it to both municipal and finance.
The only concern I have is this, we're in the process of doing a parking study. That's also being reviewed, right?
Right.
Through Sam Schwartz. Do you want to hold off until Sam Schwartz comes out with their report also?
I don't think this testing is going to affect that. This won't even be until, we won't even touch this thing probably midsummer.
Right, and Howard, I wouldn't anticipate any functional changes to the parking lot. Like, we would try to bring it up to code, you know, with landscaping and stuff, but we would try to conserve all the parking that's there now.
I'm just curious to see what they have to say with the parking total or analysis. How many are being generated? Can that parking lot handle more cars? Because more cars is gonna put more weight on the asphalt. So that's the only concern that I have.
As part of our investigation, we would ensure, well, part of this investigation in particular is determining the pavement thickness, and we, during the engineering design, would determine the suitability. So I wouldn't see that being a problem.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Actually, you know what, Eric, you want to stay up there, because I might ask you a question on number 6.
Okay, sure. Mm-hmm.
All right, number 6. This was brought over to me by Alderman Cazares, who couldn't make it tonight. He was debating, can we look into it? Would you know a ballpark figure? If not, I was going to bring more figures to the next meeting. Those electronic speed monitors that are attached to city light poles?
Yeah, like the radar mounted speed signs?
Do you know approximately ballpark what those things go for?
I do, yeah, I've seen quotes for those anywhere between like 8,000 and 15,000
Okay,
a
all right.
piece.
I might be reaching out to you to get something more definitive or put me in the right direction.
Yeah, and I actually, whenever you want to, we can discuss we work every year on safe routes to school projects, and there's some funding available to do those. too,
Great,
So,
and that's what Alderman Cazares said. He was told, you gotta, where he's working at now, they're putting a bunch of these out there. And he said it wasn't that much, which I guess in the grand scheme of things it's not. But something to look into, especially between 127th and Grove, which would purview of this committee. And if we decided to do something like that, where they just attach to a light bulb, and if we change a light bulb, they can detach and put to the next light bulb we put there. It's not an overrun of safe. We're not gonna spend the money twice. But it's something to look into because there's been a lot of complaints that people are going over 25 miles an hour on that stretch of Western Avenue. And it definitely brings attention, which is, we can't use the portable ones on Western Avenue because there's no real spot to put them.
right.
So,
Would it be solar? Is that solar?
Typically, they're solar. Even the ones that I've seen, they wire into existing streetlights, because the streetlights are usually on a photocell, meaning they only come on at night. There's still usually some kind of battery backup. So whether it's solar or a battery backup and taking the main power from the streetlight, in either case, they're kind of alternatively powered.
and then we could tie this in with the citizen concern about the signage at the crosswalks too. So we'll get some more data from you. I'm gonna reach out to put me in the right direction on what to do next.
Yeah, of course, anytime.
I would also like to see something approaching 123rd Street, because there's a ton of kids that cross there too.
Yeah, as long as in Munster, we can talk about it as committee.
And you need to have both of the schools, veterans.
Yeah.
Yep, and when it's, to do with the schools, that's the sort of thing that Safe Routes to School funding would be available for.
So the funding would be there for the signage too, like for pedestrian signage.
Vermont Street too.
Yeah, when we did, what did we do? We did 123rd or 127th a few years ago, and we did some
There's funding available.
pedestrian signage on
Why
that.
not?
Yeah, but the district goes to Greenwood, so you could probably put one.
And then go the other way too, by the train station.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Eric. I think that's it for right now.
Okay,
Double
all right,
check if there's
thank you,
nothing else
Alderman.
here I need you for, we can excuse you. I think that's it, right? Do we need him for the RFP? We don't need him for that. Okay, we're good, Eric.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, let me knock this one out first. This one's an easy one. We'll pull the minutes. All right, so the next one I have discussion on banners along Western Avenue highlighting the census 2020. So we discussed this a few times in committee. The census is a big deal for the city for revenue purposes with funding and federal grants and economic income information to attract businesses that look at that stuff, because every major chain looks at income levels of the city. And right now our income levels are terrible. So we got this price I just got an estimate, to do banners along Western Avenue from 119th to 139th, the entire stretch. This is every single pole, which I was just going on the most expensive side. To do a banner on every single pole, 2 separate designs, one Spanish, one English, it's $18,000, which would come out of the business district. I would say that's, after talking to Mr. Johnson, chairman of the Complete Count Committee, that might be overkill. We could do every other poll or something like that, so it might be even half that. But if the committee's okay with going forward, I was gonna toss the football back to the Complete Count Committee so they can start working on some designs, if we're okay. And then when they get designs, we get a finalized price, and we come back here for us to approve the design before we send it to finance. So we're still a few steps away from us getting a vote on anything. But if there's a consensus on this, I'd like to send it to the Complete Count Committee.
Yeah.
Dave, you want to come up?
Yeah, so our committee's meeting next on this coming Monday, so this will be an agenda item, and we will have to move fairly quickly. So just thinking through the meeting cycles here, the March and April are going to be kind of the big months for the census. So so hopefully we have a message or a design locked up in the next couple of weeks. Because then in February, we would need the approvals to actually get the stuff printed.
We'd go straight to here, whatever, we can knock it all
Right,
out.
because it would have to go up in March,
Yeah.
basically. But yeah, this is gonna be a key discussion topic on Monday, just as part of all the overall outreach strategy, which again, I think February and March we'll be back and give community development an update on that. Because this is going to be an important topic for the next, we'll say the next 4 to 6 months. So, thanks.
Is it possible, Chairman, that we can actually everybody get to look at the design before we say, okay, put a stamp on it?
I mentioned that. I wanted the design.
Because those ones we got with Jason Barron and they sucked.
Well, it'll come back here. It'll come back here. Any other questions, concerns? If not, I'm gonna hand this right to Dave. Dave, you can work right with them. You can work with, we could talk, if you need a graphic designer or whatever, but and then we'll come back here with the final drawing schematic for this committee.
Great,
So,
yeah, we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, number 8, discussion on issues with 3 different buildings on Old Western Avenue. So 13301 Old Western, which is the former Maple Tree Inn, 13337 Old Western, which is the former Esparza's Restaurant, and 13426 Old Western Avenue, which is that green-colored building that had the fire last year next to the city limits, the islands, the El Cortez, however you place it in your head, I call it all 3. So my issue, I'll go over real quick my issues before I let you speak about this. All 3 are in my backyard. My district of Old Western has experienced an economic downturn with the loss of several long-standing businesses, Maple Tree, Jevons, and just to name a couple. It needs some help down there. And the minimum we can do is just enforce our building codes and see what we can do about that. Maple Tree, as far as I was told when Brian was still here, was sold. We gave them a time limit, which I know our building department's gonna talk about, before we start finding them. They have to remove a lot of things that's sitting on city property. There's a rat problem down there. The neighborhood's up in arms. The neighboring businesses, the Rock Island Public House, Front Row, Guild House, which owns the building on Old Western and the one on Canal Street, have all beefed up their rodent control problems. I've seen these rats myself. They're foot long. This needs to be addressed. That's number 1, Maple Tree. It looks terrible. I want to go after them or whatever they're up to. The second building on there is Esparza's Restaurant, which kind of pushed out a long-standing restaurant that was there. They have newspapers covering all the windows. They have satellite dishes in the front of the building, which if we can't really address, we might have to do another policy on that. But the newspapers in the windows, I know for sure, is breaking a signage code that we have. I want to go after them for that. And the green-colored burned-out building, I mentioned briefly to Mark Miller, I'm sure we can do something about going after them because I believe they haven't been paying their taxes. So, and it's been vacant for a number of years and it's never passed a building inspection in a number of years. So either if it's salvageable, it's salvageable. If not, let's knock it down and hopefully put it out to bid and hopefully a business can build something there or do something with it, put it back on the tax rolls. So with that, I'll open it up to you with these concerns first before you go over to your report.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In order for me to give you a specific answer on all this building, I have to go through the whole entire file because right now I'm getting familiar with everything. Well, I'm trying to get out some of a lot of permits that actually are being applied for. So I'm trying to really get everything out of the area, out of the files that we have pending right now. And yes, if that's something that I'm going to look forward to it, and I'll be able to give you a specific answer on the next meeting because I want to go into detail and what you just mentioned regarding the way it is.
The Maple Tree will need an answer quicker than that because the timeline is passed.
Okay.
It's been vacant for over a year.
Then we'll put it.
And Brian already gave them notice when they transferred that.
Okay, well, priority on that one.
All 3 of these are priority.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
But Maple Tree will be number 1.
Okay, definitely.
There's a serious rodent problem that's affecting neighboring businesses and a halfway house that's sitting right there.
Okay,
So,
yeah, we'll put priority on that one, and all 3 of them, like you said.
I mean, there's a lot of other things in town right now, but this one's been in our committee and our forefronts, Maple Tree and social media alone. We need to do after this problem.
No, definitely. We'll take care of that one.
Oh man, you wouldn't know. I walked out of that building when I went into it. So, what else you got?
There will be the one for time being.
All right, do you want to go over anything in the building report so you can get out of here?
What do you have, Howard?
Just go over some of the main sections or if anybody here has any questions. He's still relatively new. He's, unfortunately, we don't have a building inspector yet. He's still out with knee surgery. He needs clearance from his doctor. So Mr. Ahmed Sandino here has been doing counter work, reviewing permits and applications, and doing inspections. So I didn't want to bombard him with a lot of things because we're still without one of the inspectors. Once we have an inspector, he can do more of the policies and stuff like that we have down the road. But I could also speak to Mr. Sandino about the Maple Tree Inn because I understand the history, and I did talk with the property owner who purchased it. She was in the process of getting a dumpster. I guess she never did.
Nothing's down there. So that's the biggest priority is 3.
So what Mr. Bilotto is asking, as property maintenance now, we need to start enforcing it.
We've been working on that one already, and especially when you talk about the enclosure, that we've been actually there's quite a bit of actual improvement on that one. There's a lot of already contractor going on, And we have already, I don't have the number, but we have a lot already issue permit to do the work.
At the Maple Tree?
No,
He's
for,
talking about trash and
for the
food.
trash and
Okay,
food,
all
we were
right,
talking about, yeah.
Which Mr. Bilotto is aware, he's fine with that. It's just with this one, we need to start having, because the problem is that when the building burned down, everything burned there and stayed there.
They never cleaned it up.
Okay.
So we have a lot of stuff that is attracting rodents. So we're looking at with property enforcement, trying to get these people into the office and say, hey, you need to start doing this or we're gonna take it to adjudication.
The building, half the building sits on city-owned property. We can go right now and tear it down if we want, which I'll be asking this committee to do at the next meeting if you don't have a result by then. We can
No,
always
we'll
go
look
tear
at
it
it.
down
Yeah,
ourselves.
we have to look into it and see
Yes.
what are the best results we can get to it.
All right.
Do
Thank
any of the committee members have any particular questions about enforcement from the building report, year-to-date information or anything like this?
The hearing document that you gave us this time,
Yes.
this is good. I like this.
I'll bring up number 9 since you're up here. This is again another one that I'd like to talk about. Me and Alderman Mech mentioned this, but I'm sure most people will agree. We don't have a policy right now for major changes in exterior of your building, like more than 60%. I don't know, whatever we make it at. My biggest concern is popping the top is what it's called. On most homes, it's not that drastic, but in some homes, it can be very drastic to the aesthetic look of a home. And other communities like Berwyn, Oak Park, have policies that you can't do these things. I want to start looking into how we can do that here. If we can do that here, is it going to be something we want? Bungalow is the best situation where they add 2-3 stories on top of a
Right.
4-story bungalow. It's happened a couple times in town recently. Is there's a way that we can put a policy together that we don't allow that? I'd like to look into that.
The one we've been going on right now after is any of the building that I encountered right now that they have actually 2 or 3 units illegally. And so they've already been notified that they, in order, and actually this building has been abandoned already. So we are after that and going to reverse it into R1. That's what we're doing.
We're maintaining the vacancy stuff. That's okay.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. That sounds good. That's all I got. Any committee got any questions for the building commissioner?
I just got a question for Mr. Howard about the inspector that we have. Was he hurt on the job or no?
No.
No. So do we have like light duty, maybe? Or do we have to come back in full capacity?
He has to come back in full capacity. It's injury that has happened from his other job. So all the paperwork was completed with the lawyers, so he was allowed to go and have his surgery. So he wants to come back quickly, but until the doctor gives him permission. They're very cautious here because of the liability issue, since this is from another job as a contractor.
Okay.
All right.
And
I'm looking at,
I think the middle of this month, or I believe it's like about 13th of the month, it's going to come in.
probably mid-January to the final week of January, possibly. Almost a month he's been out.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Number 10, discussion on 75% match. I'd like to ask committee to, we've had tremendous success. I think we could all say how many times we've approved applications in the last few months by increasing the 75%. And I'd like to, we kind of unfortunately sunsetted that in December. So we're asking for a consensus to continue that through 2020, to continue offering the 75% for building facade grant and.
Why would we just go,
Just
make
keep it
that
there.
the policy?
Yeah.
It's just Western Avenue,
Yeah.
right?
It's the business
What's the
district,
business
yeah, so it's 100, parts 127, parts Vermont, Old Western. But I have no problem with continuing it indefinitely. You know, the money's there, we're collecting the revenue, it has to be used for this. We're holding on to money that could be going back into the businesses, we just gotta help them apply like we've been doing.
I agree.
And again, we'll say it again, the more you know, like when we all grew up watching those things, the more you know. The more you know, we have this building grant facade program that if you own a business on Western Avenue, I'll keep it that way because it's cleaner, or Old Western, and you want to do an exterior improvement that can be seen from the street, and it's approved by our building department, you fill out an application, and the city will reimburse up to 75% if it's approved by the building department and the committee. For signage, it's $2,000 up front. There's also the grant for that. A business owner and a property owner can both apply for the grants, So if there's a business like Meyer Eye Care that's the owner of the property and owner of business, they can apply for separate improvements, one being for the business and one for the building. So apply.
My question is, I was just telling Tom, so there's a new Maple, what's it called? Maple Corner Store, I think it's called.
Maple,
The corner store, they just reopened, new owners, very nice people, but they need some love,
Yes, outside the
That's not the
district.
district.
There's nothing we can do, there's nowhere that we can.
Not currently what we have said.
We can get the veteran kids to help them
I
paint.
feel sorry for them, they just bought it.
Alderman Cantelo-Zylman gonna volunteer to paint the building.
I'll get my kids over there.
That's what I just said, get the veteran kids to volunteer, watch the sound.
I feel bad.
All right, so if there's consensus, I'll do a vote, just to make it official. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Motion. So Johnson first, seconded by,
It's making it to policy, right?
yeah, just
Yes,
indefinitely.
Yes.
But,
Johnson and Hawley,
Alderman Bilotto,
On the question.
Chairman, I'm sorry. The thing is, can we have this information like, like some of the constituents were stating that about, it's not, readily available. And I think that was the issue with this the last time, because
this one now, since we've increased it,
Right.
it's been on social media, the chamber's been spreading around, we put it in the water bills twice.
Right, but I'm just saying, there's certain information that's pertinent that could help us flow better. We just gotta make our clerk do his job that he ran for. As simple as that.
I believe everything's up on the website too, the application.
And this one, I think everything,
Yeah, now it's.
Yeah, I was just talking about other information, all
Yeah.
just like they talking about the cannabis and things of
So
that
you
nature.
mean the outside?
Information, period, that's his job. He signed up for it, we didn't.
all right, so we, I did that on the question, so, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Do we need to make that now an official resolution? You want to officially change it indefinitely?
I should ask the attorney.
So carried. All right. Number 11. Since we have, seems like a little time. Oh, you know what I'll do before we go into 11, because I'm sure that's going to take a little more time than I want right now. We'll do the marketing report. Sarah Brown. That's number 12.
For the Maplewood Inn, I do believe that is in the CalSag Enterprise Zone. I think the entirety of Blue Island is in it. And so there is funding available for eligible exterior improvements. The language is pretty similar to our program. And it's just that the business owners would need to apply for the funding before they started any work. But we have links to that on the city
I
website.
can tell her, she's really nice, she just
Yeah.
bought it, and we've been there a couple
Yeah.
times, and she wants it.
Yeah, so it is outside the business development
It's
district,
not
but
the
it
little,
isn't.
the little corner store, right?
Yeah. Anything in Blue Island.
Anything in Blue Island is in
Yeah, I'll
the
talk,
enterprise zone.
or if you wanna stop in there and see, she's a really nice
Sure.
lady.
Yeah, so they're the new owners of it? Okay.
It's all clean in there.
She's got the name of it.
Don't know her name.
All right, okay. All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we'll go through this marketing report. A lot of the information and the supporting graphs are similar to what you'd seen all year, but since we did have that full snapshot of 2019, I do have kind of that year-end wrap-up to share with you. For your website statistics, during 2019, you had 185,266 visitors to the website, making 2019 the fourth best year since the start of that tracking for the data for the website, which was in 2009. So it's been in existence for 10 years, and this was the fourth best year for traffic. We surpassed 2018 by 17,821 visitors. So that's great. You want the website to be a place where people are visiting and can find the information that you're talking about, referencing there. For 2019, organic search drove 39% of your total website traffic. And from a marketing perspective, that's exactly what you want. You want organic search to be the largest driver of traffic, and that just means that when people are searching in Google, or Bing, or Yahoo, or AOL, people still use that what they're searching for is driving them to the site. So that's a good thing. We want to see that to be the biggest piece of that pie of your acquisition for your website. When it comes to social media, you had year over year an increase of 549 followers to the page. So you ended the year with 3,153 page followers, and that was an increase of 17.4%. And year over year, your average post reach increased from an audience of 424 from an audience of 124. So that was a nice gain. Your all of your content was much more visible in 2019 than it was in 2018. The most popular posts for the second half of the year were related to the city's Patriot Day ceremony, National Night Out, and the 4th of July celebrations. And so some of the common denominator between those popular posts are that they were very visual, and that's something that we want to continue to see the city expand on is, providing those visuals to you because that's what people interact with. The most popular events for 2019, and this is sort of a shared statistic, some of these events are shared with the Park District or Chicago River Day. In that case, we're paired with Friends of the Chicago River. So some of those have a larger audience is why I say that. So those most popular events that the city was a part of on Facebook were Chicago River Day. And if you're not familiar, that's a volunteer effort we do here locally too. So we actually have a Chicago River Day cleanup site that happens here. So that's how we're a part of that. The Fireworks Festival, and then the Barbecue on the Hill for the Park District. Then when it comes to your newsletter, your January newsletter is being distributed, the water bills, the City Hall, Clerk's Office, Mayor's Office, the Meadows, and the Annex. It's on the website, it's been shared on social media, and there'll be a draft layout for the February issue for review on the 15th, so next week. Do you have any questions about any of the information in the report, or? Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, we'll go back to number 11, discussion RFP for parking lot. So it's a lot of information that came in. I barely went through half of this just to add up the initial costs of doing the replanting. I can speak on that, the initial costs, but if we go forward with this, I'd like to bring them in so they can explain it better. It's very vague in some parts of what exactly they're going to do. It's a first-time hit to, it's 12 locations, I believe, right? This includes a parking lot that is Metro South, but they're going to tear up and replant all that too, except for the trees. I walked with Howard and them at all 12 locations. This is everything, because I'm picky, as Alderman Hawley knows. We walked every corner of these 12 locations. So I know, for example, the parking lot north of DMARS, we walked the entire perimeter of it and pointed to a bunch of stuff. So it adds up to $46,000 as a one-time cost to tear everything up and replant a bunch of stuff and water it for the first season. That's not maintenance. I think the other part is the maintenance, which I didn't add that one, but I didn't get to it. So now I'll speak before you get over there. $46,000 might seem like a lot of money, but 12 locations to be torn up and replanted that are very much seen by the public, especially most of these are parking lots, I think is something we should look into. I didn't look at the maintenance cost of it, but Howard, if you want to talk about that part.
What I just wanted to interject, we only received one bid. I waited for a couple of extra days to see if something came through the mail. This was the only one. I did speak to 3 companies at one time, and one did go and see the site, but they never submitted it as a bid. So I'm not sure if you want to go through rebidding, have these guys come in.
What was the cost of the maintenance?
Not sure.
This is a local company?
This is a Blue Island company, yeah. This is on 135th Street. Doran's Landscaping, one of the owners lives in town. Another owner was a previous employee of the city.
I think it would be good to have this person come in the February meeting to go over the details of it. And then we could see if we weren't hitting or asking the right questions since we didn't get the bidders.
Yeah.
The maintenance is a big thing.
I think we could do it, I just marked it.
It was a large, it was a lot to ask like one company to do, you know? Because I talked to mine and they were just like that,
It's a
they're
lot of
busy
work.
and it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
It's not
upfront
a big
work.
company, the people that do my yard.
Same thing with the one that do my properties, they didn't want to touch it. Even though it probably would have been a lot cheaper.
Right, mine would have been too.
But Doran's has a good reputation, they're in town, their employees are pretty much all live in town. I have no problem bringing them in. The initial cost is something I would be in favor of, the committee, then we'd have to still send it to finance, they would be the final say on this. But it would really beautify a bunch of parking lots, which even if we did the business district next year or the year after, it's not touching the parking lots, that stuff is stuff we can do now. But then you have to follow up with the maintaining it. It's nice to plant stuff, but then if you don't maintain it, it falls apart within one season, you know? So that's why one goes with the other. You can't do one without really doing the other. Yeah, I was debating, do we cut the grass cutting out of it and stuff, and like, again, then the person cutting the grass is gonna throw their clippings all over the nice plantings that we're
So is
putting.
this special sound like, what Vermillion is, that kind of, no?
No, the one on Western Avenue. This is just one, that's one of 12 locations. Another one is the triangle with the flagpoles, the entrance to Western Avenue. The Dunkin' Donuts at Gregory.
Not where,
No, just
parking lot
every
changes,
parking lot
that-
along Western Avenue in the business district. The parking lots behind Western that we own, the U Street parking lot behind Family Dollar, behind Three Sisters. It would drastically improve those areas, replace dead trees, so on, and maintain those areas. Actually, the parking lot behind Three Sisters, as you're here, is due for repaving soon too, so. But, I think it's a good thing we look into. The one by the post office, this one right here across the street, that entire median in the entire parking lot, they would dig the entire thing up, put new plantings in, and maintain it.
This doesn't sound like that bad, but you're all that work.
No, it's a lot of work. So let's invite him to the next meeting. If that's okay with the committee?
They have, do they, I didn't see that. I couldn't get into my email, but do they have like drawings and stuff like that?
No, you got my copy, I got
No, I
it.
Is it just talking about, it'd be nice if they did some.
They named the plants they're gonna put in, the number of plants they're gonna put in.
Kind of pictures.
It would be nice if they could do some sort of layout thing on some of the major, you know.
Instead of that stuff that they had on loan, it looked like just weeds.
Yeah. So like, I think
I
this
mean,
is.
they'd have a month to do it, and I'm not saying all 12 locations, but like
An
maybe,
example, one location.
or maybe 3 or something like that, the big ones.
Yeah.
Examples to show to the committee.
Yeah, I mean, if they already have like, you know, here's grasses and hosses and dahlias and, I mean, just like, what is it gonna look like? New ornamental tree, where are they gonna, you know?
Yeah, like this one on U in Vermont, the little part that's on, just on U Street, I think, the trees are still alive on that side. I think it's this one they're talking about. They would dig around the trees, take them out, put flowers in, put mulch in, so it's like $100. But another one you look at, it's 80 perennials, 3 trees, 10 yards of mulch, 60 hours of watering, it's $11,000. That's a lot of work. So, I'm in favor. Yeah, if we can have maybe do 3, we could draw something up
Yeah.
and then come to the February meeting. If not, we're gonna have to go out to bid again. I figured in my head a lot more than this, so.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad.
The maintenance I didn't add up though, so. Yearly maintenance. It looks like a lot less than the 40,000.
But in the wintertime, it would probably curbs on it.
Whatever would be nothing.
Right.
Spring and fall cleanup. All right, so we'll table it to the next meeting, Howard will contact them. All right, we got this thing that Mark Miller sent over. Howard, do you know more information about this? I forgot to ask Mark about this today, the RTA thing.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have to table this then. All right, what else? Are we what? I don't know if you know if we made it to the packet or not. Mark just sent it over yesterday. So it's the Irving Avenue reconstruction through an RTA grant, would turn in $96,000.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you get a copy?
They talked about it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't have enough information to talk about it either.
Yeah,
I didn't receive a copy yesterday.
it's not on the agenda.
I know I forwarded it, but it might have been late. He sent it to me yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent whatever I had, because I was working on the minutes for the meeting on Monday. 12 pages long, the minutes. I do have something here. Since our health inspector
Oh, yeah.
resigned,
I read that somewhere.
yeah, I only made one copy,
Yes,
because
I read it.
I didn't want to burn so many copies. She's interested in coming back on a per inspection fee. So I spoke with her. This is Maureen O'Day, the former health inspector. She doesn't want to leave us on a lurch. In other words, abandon us and we have no health inspector. She's willing to come back to do inspections for, let's say, a new restaurant where someone complained that, you know, a restaurant's not doing well, a tattoo parlor, what have you. But what she's requesting is $50 per inspection. So I created a draft agreement, a consulting agreement, and I also ran it through Carrie's office, and they're pretty much fine with it. I'm gonna be bringing this to the resolution, to Finance Committee next. But it's hard finding our health inspector with what we're paying, but I'm not getting any resumes. This is gonna be something that I'm gonna have to work with the budget during the budget process, so at least if we have Maureen still coming just to do some
What was she getting paid for?
financially.
It was a salary, I think, right?
Yeah, salary. 22,000. She's retired, so
Yeah, I
she
know.
felt like
I've
it was
met her,
just, it
talked
was
to
just
her.
too
Nice
overwhelming.
lady.
Yes, she felt it was very overwhelming to do so many inspections per day, so she'd rather help us still, not leave us in the lurch. So I said, okay, I'll bring it to the Community Development Committee, and I'll bring it to Finance, and then report to City Council.
I have no issue with this. We need to have a health inspector
I
somehow.
agree.
Just make a vote to send it to finance.
We'll make a motion, is there a motion to send this to finance by Mech? Is there a second by Cantelo? All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. All right. For the good of the order, anybody got anything?
I just got a question for Chairman. I'm sorry. Discussion number 4. I know Mark Miller, needs to introduce this to us, but I was looking at, like, say for instance, just an idea, if a property sales that we own, and I think the proceeds should go to that area. They needed, construction and things of that nature, and have it earmarked instead of just going into the general fund.
I know what he's gonna say right away. If there's any revenue from it, it's reimbursing what it costs for us to tear it down, take it. It's usually about the same cost.
What if what about that, thing with Tom Dock? What they was doing?
That's still available, that's something we have to ask, I guess.
Okay.
What about the gas station?
Oh, I do have an update on the gas station.
Yeah.
All right, we can tear it down anytime after the 10th, if no lien comes forward by the 10th.
Very done.
So, we've already authorized all of that. If Mark gets the okay, he'll go back to council, I believe, with a resolution. But we're good to go. We posted the sign out months ago. That was just a
So January
public
10th, like
notice.
2 days?
That's when it's clear for us to demolish it. He's gotta go back and talk to the contractor to put in the lowest bid, but the canopy will come down, the post for the canopy, the signage would come down. We cannot touch the pumps, we cannot touch the building, but we can clean up the property once all that stuff comes
But
down.
that's the most important,
Yeah.
choose that out.
And if it even be the metal.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my update for that. So after the 10th, Mark should have some more information for us. So, any other questions or concerns, or we'll end it?
Can I ask a question?
Since we're so early, you really want to open up that barrel?
This is a-
I just want to know why we
Yeah,
can't
1
have
minute.
speed traps on 127th and on Western.
We have what?
Why we can't have the police go do speed traps?
Good question. Public health and safety is a good committee.
But we can make some money.
We need the money.
Don't get Alderman Johnson to talk about trucks and stuff like that. He'll talk for 2 hours about it.
Okay.
He'd probably agree with you right now, so. Any other questions? We'll
That's
make a
a
motion.
record for you, Mr. Ball.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh,
Motion.
one thing.
All right.
The next meeting is Wednesday, February 12th, which turns out to be Lincoln's birthday, but it's not a holiday that we celebrate, so we're still having
Well,
it.
so I was gonna bring this up possibly later when I look at my calendar. Possibly I'm out of town, so find out, I'll call you individually, see if we have a consensus on this, and we take it over. If not, probably should be there for the cannabis thing. So, it might not be the 12th, now it might be a couple days after, right? It'll be in that ballpark,
As long as it's not Thursday.
so. And public will be notified well in advance.
I saw also
Yeah.
correspond with yours.
Yes, I'll figure this out in the next couple of days. I gotta figure if we're going on time or not.
Okay.
All right, so motion made by Cantelo, is there a second? Second by Johnson. All in favor to adjourn? Aye. Any opposed? No.